It's time for story time with Simon. In this episode of the show, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about I Am Paradise Fitness and a story about self-doubt. The self-doubt that I had when I was building this business, building this coaching business, and all of these podcast things, the YouTube, the social media, and all of those things, and how that was shrouded with self-doubt each and every step of the way. And hopefully along the course of this story, you are also going to see that there are exact parallels with where you're at right now in terms of trying to lose weight, build muscle, trying to achieve that leaner, healthier body, or the best body ever, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever healthy means to you, or whatever the best body means for you specifically, because it's not the same for everyone. Hopefully you can see that there are parallels, because no doubt you have feelings of self-doubt. There are understandably parts of your life where you feel really confident, really empowered. Maybe it is in your career. Maybe you're a high-flying business person who really is smashing it in every conceivable level. But when it comes to another aspect of your life, like health and fitness and understanding nutrition and trying to get your head around what to eat, trying to get your head around all of this confusing information about, okay, eat at this time, this meal frequency, don't eat carbs, don't eat fat, all of these different things, this feels confusing. And then when you start to go down a specific path, that can lead to a lot of self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right training program? Am I doing the right exercises? Am I eating at the right times? Am I eating at the wrong times? Am I getting enough sleep? There's so many things that cloud your judgment and give you all this sort of confusing mixed messages that it's no wonder that you have self-doubt about whether you're doing the right thing or not. So hopefully my little story kind of tells you that we all go through this at some point, and to be honest, it's to be expected. It's part of the process. Now for me, health and fitness has become easy. That might sound like I'm bragging and kind of rubbing it in, but it has become easy. Now, it wasn't always the case. When I was in my 20s and I wasn't a trainer, I wasn't a coach, I was just like you, regular Joe with a job, going to the gym and trying to do my best to improve my physique, build some muscle, lose some body fat, get some abs. That's what I wanted back in my early 20s. So I used to do many different things, random shit at the gym. I used to do the old bro split. I used to freaking believe every single myth out there, buy every single supplement. Did I know what I was doing? Hell fucking no. Did I get any results? Well, I got built some muscle, but didn't really get to the physique that you want, I wanted. It just never really happened. Now, that has changed over time through seeking my own education, through investing in courses, through building my knowledge, through practical experience. All of those different things have amalgamated over the course of the last 10, 15 years to then build up to the point where I am confident in managing my nutrition. I'm confident in managing my training. I'm confident about what I'm doing in the gym, and I don't have those feelings of self-doubt. But that's been a journey. That's been a process that I've been going through over a period of time. But now, a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago-ish, at the point of recording this particular episode of the show, I was starting I Am Paradise Fitness from scratch, from nothing. I had a side job, but I didn't have a side job. I Am Paradise Fitness was the side job. I had a main job in the corporate world, office environment, doing all of that sort of good stuff, climbing the corporate ladder, sucking on the corporate teat, if you will, trying to basically clamber my way up that corporate ladder, because I thought that's what people did. You go to university, you get a good job, you get a good freaking climb up that ladder, get the good retirement package, the car, the mortgage, all of that sort of stuff. That's what I thought people did. Little did I know that actually doing something you enjoy is far better in life. But that's a different story. So I was kind of trying to build I Am Paradise Fitness alongside all of those pressures of work and long hours and things like that. Now, obviously I was in a business environment, but did I know anything about building a business from scratch? Not a fucking jot. A bit like maybe when you're starting out trying to figure out what the fuck's a calorie deficit and what the hell do you do with these weight things in the gym. It's a bit like that, Bambi on ice. Now, at the start of that point, I really didn't know what to do. No business degree, no formal kind of training or anything like that. So back then, I used to just do random shit. I used to write articles that were all crap. Thankfully, I've taken them off my website now. I did posts on Instagram that were all crap. I did loads of stuff that I would be hugely embarrassed about right now. But I am super glad I did each and every one of those shit things, because I always believe if that you look back at the first time you started anything and you don't cringe and you don't think, whoa, that was fucking horrendous, then you waited too long. You thought about it too much. You spent too much time pondering and trying to make everything perfect that you never got started. Because I can guarantee you what you see in terms of I Am Paradise Fitness today, in terms of my social media, podcasts, YouTube videos, some will say it's still crap. Some will say it's freaking amazing. I get loads of good value from it. It's inspiring, all that sort of stuff. But that came with application, learning, making mistakes, failing, trying to find and figure out your way through, learning from other people, trying to get information from other people to say, I'm trying this, but I'm just finding it not working. Have you got any suggestions? Shit like that. And it's the same with you and with fitness and training and nutrition, is that you might be starting out at that point where you feel like you don't want to take those first steps into the gym because you're not sure. You're not sure what you should be doing. You're not sure if you're doing the right exercises, executing them correctly. All of that different sort of stuff is clouding your judgment. But I tell you what, my first days in the gym were horrendous. If I look back into my form and things like that, then I would be super embarrassed. I mean, I put myself into a point where I got injuries from the amount of shit form that I had. But I started in the gym, and then you kind of surround yourself with people that want to help you and all that sort of good stuff. And that starts to build that knowledge. The worst thing you can do is sit at home and try and make it perfect before you actually step out your comfort zone and try to do these things. So I'm Paradise Fitness, get back to that story. Did I know anything about building a website? Nope. No idea about coding or anything like that. Did I have any clue about how to do copywriting? Nope. Did I have a clue about graphic design for Instagram and things like that? Nope, not a clue. I didn't have a clue about any of these things, because let me tell you, if you're a trainer, I get some personal trainers listening to the podcast and watching these videos, is that if you think going online is like being a in-person PT, but in the digital space, it's all ass about face, because actually you've got to learn so many other different skills that you don't have that it will actually blow your mind. You turn into a marketer as much as you are a coach, if not more on the marketing side. So you have to learn all these new skills. All these new skills come your way and you don't have a fucking clue if you're doing them right or wrong, good, bad or indifferent. But often doing things and learning by doing and learning by application and surrounding yourself with a network of people that can help you along the way is hugely important. So I didn't start off knowing anything, just like you don't start off knowing everything about nutrition. You don't start off knowing everything about training, and nor should you expect yourself to. You know, if you were looking at me and I came to you and said, hey, I need some advice about building a business or something like that, you wouldn't expect me to have web developer knowledge. It wouldn't be your expectation for me to know those sorts of things. And it shouldn't be your expectation on yourself that you should know everything about nutrition, or that you should have to know everything about nutrition. You really, in order to get results, you don't really need to know everything in great detail. You might be really interested and you might want to learn all that sort of stuff, but actually to get results, you don't need to know everything. You need to know basics, and then you need to start applying those basics. So the decisions I've made behind the scenes for me were like sometimes I was winging it. Sometimes I was just doing, all right, what does this feel like in terms of, does this feel good? Does this feel like the right decision? Whether that's the type of post I want to put out, whether it's how I want my website to look or something like that, does it feel like it's the right thing? Now, then the sorts of self-doubt start to come in, and it's like this thing of, I'm working hard, I'm putting in the effort, but am I just a busy fool? And again, like a bit like you in the gym or you're with your nutrition, you're working hard at trying to train as hard as possible, but you have that niggling self-doubt in the back of your mind saying, Am I just putting in lots of hours and they're all going to waste because I'm not doing the right thing? Or am I focusing on my nutrition and trying to do all the right things, but am I missing something that is really fundamental that means I'm actually just wasting my time here? And then I always think about, yeah, I'm working hard. I feel like I'm working hard to the max. I'm doing podcasts 6 days a week. I'm doing articles multiple times per week, posts, stories, all this sort of stuff, doing lots of stuff. But then you think, well, is that person progressing faster than me? Are they doing things better than I am? They're doing less, but are they getting more? So am I doing the wrong things? Am I doing lots of the wrong things and they're doing less but getting more progress? And is their business moving faster? And you start to look at all of those things around you and start to judge where you are based on somebody else's start point. And that's the thing that I've had an epiphany on with this type of thing for within I Am Paradise Fitness, is you cannot compare yourself to somebody else. And it's quite cliche, it's quite cheesy, it's quite common for people to talk about this sort of thing and say, well, don't judge yourself versus that person on Instagram and all of that sort of stuff, which is true. But you've got to actually believe it and you've got to actually apply it. You know, a lot of people say it, nobody actually does it. But it's one of the things that I've come to realize, and it's because of this one thing, is that not everybody starts from the same place. In fact, you are unique in terms of your knowledge, your current weight, your skill level, the amount of hours you've spent in the gym, all of these different sorts of things, plus lifestyle and all these sorts of other different factors bring about who you are as a person in relation to health and fitness. And then you can't necessarily compare yourself from where you start versus somebody else. And for me, it's the same. So if I look at somebody else's business, yes, they might, on the outside, might not appear to be working as hard or putting out as much content or, being as visible on social media or have the nicest website or anything like that. But they might have the appearance of being like doing super well with their business. But they could have had a different start point. They could have had a start point where they did a lot of in-person PT for decades. And then that kind of gave them a massive kickstart when they went online. Who knows? These are the things that caused me self-doubt in the past. And actually, if you forget about those different sorts of things, the things that you cannot control, again, another cheesy cliche, but things that aren't in your control are just not worth worrying about because you cannot affect it. You cannot affect the fact that somebody might have less body fat than you. You can't affect the fact that somebody has more muscle than you or better glutes or whatever it is that you're comparing yourself to. It's an exercise that's just bound to end in misery and failure because there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about that person may have been training for 5 years longer than you have. And therefore, you can't just leapfrog 5 years worth of training just because you want to and just because you start comparing yourself to somebody else. So those feelings of self-doubt and are you doing the right things are common. But judging yourself based on somebody else's yardstick is really not the way to do things. And it's a case of, when I look back, I think what's helped me, and by no stretch of the imagination is this episode of the show a pitch for coaching. I just get that out there. This is going to sound like it's a pitch for coaching, but it's not. I just want to put an idea in your mind that there are other options. And whether you decide that coaching is for you, whether you want to go and get coached by somebody else, that's your bag. Whether you want to be coached by me, that's cool too. But this is not a pitch for coaching. But in terms of my journey, when I had definite steps in my journey where I upskilled and I up-leveled, and that was when I started working with different sorts of coaches. So my first business coach I worked with helped me out with technology. So I understood more about websites, about emails, about all these things like processes and systems that sit in the background that knit everything together. I learned all of that from him. Then I went in, worked through that, and then I went to a different coach. That taught me about how to communicate with people more, how to get people interested in what it is that you're doing and the content you're putting out, and how to get people to give a shit about what it is you're doing. And that helped me level up again. And then more recently, I've started working with another coach because for me, I have a grand plan with this business, I Am Paradise Fitness, that I don't just want it to be a small business that, yes, it helps transform people's lives all over the world, and that's amazing. But I want to help hundreds of thousands of people do those sorts of things. And I want the reach to be as broad as possible and help so many people across the world. And to do that, I need to keep building. I need to keep learning. I need to keep progressing. And I've come to the realization is that I do not know everything. I do not know everything about business or anything like that. So I need someone to give me that information so that I can accelerate forward. Yes, I could sit and read a bunch of books. I could watch thousands of hours of YouTube videos. I could do all of that. But I could also just work with somebody who knows exactly how to piece it all together, and they help me accelerate forward. And that's what I'm willing to invest in. I don't think of those things as a cost. I think of those as an investment in the future and development of that business. Now, whether you decide that coaching is for you, coaching isn't for everybody, absolutely 100%. But if you decide that like coaching is for you and you want to accelerate that process, then great. Find a coach that you like. They fill the gaps for you. Maybe it's you want a comp prep. I'm not a comp prep coach, so don't come to me if you want a comp prep. But if you are, pretty good with nutrition and training, but comp prep is the gap in your knowledge, you could sit and try and basically learn all about comp prep from books, from YouTube and things like that. Or you get a comp prep coach and they just say, do that. And then obviously you learn along the way. You learn by, okay, what are they doing? How are they piecing it all together? You ask questions, they tell you the answers, you start to learn. And then over time, you don't need that coach. So wherever you are in your journey is that there will be, if coaching is for you and it's the right option, then there will be people out there that can help you fill those gaps. But obviously, if there is no particular urgency, no particular time pressure for you, then cool. Then yeah, you can kind of learn stuff. But it's all about understanding that, there are ways for you to get through these situations of self-doubt, whether it is by the fact of getting knowledge from somebody else and having that process. The only thing I would say is when you look at other, say, Instagram accounts and Facebook profiles and things like that, is be careful about having a massive broad range of people that you get information from. The best thing to probably do is find one person that you really, really trust. You enjoy their information, you believe what they say, they seem trustworthy, like me, know what they're talking about. Then look at who do they follow and who do they follow that's also putting out advice. Then follow them. And then you same thing and build up this like network of 3, 4, 5 people who are all saying the same things, obviously in different ways, but who appeal to you, but also have this consistent view. And then that stops you and prevents you from looking at everything on the internet that's available and all of the bullshit that's out there. Because trust me, it's easier to land on the bullshit than it is the truth. So make sure that you are choosing wisely with who you follow and things like that. Now, you might not think this matters. You might think this will go one in one ear and out the other because you think, well, Simon, yeah, fuck off. I'll just follow whoever I want. But you are sitting there thinking, you go through your profile and say, okay, Simon said this on a podcast about protein or about carbohydrate or about this, that, and the other. Then something pops up in your feed and says, oh, that's completely different. So now I'm confused. So actually, if you have these feelings of self-doubt, sometimes you are the cause of your own confusion. You may follow me or another person, maybe someone in the nutrition space like Martin McDonald, Lane Norton, Spencer Nadolski, all these different sorts of people. You might follow all these people that give evidence-based advice and they're saying this consistent message. But then there's that one rogue fucking gimp who pops up on your feed and causes you to doubt everything that you've seen that's come before it. So make sure you're like spring cleaning your own social media because part of this self-doubt thing is sometimes driven by your own actions. Until you take responsibility and take control of those things, then you start to free yourself from that self-doubt. You start to look at, right, okay, I'm getting consistent information here. This is what I need to go and apply. They're talking about these fundamentals. That's what I need to go and apply. And fuck the rest. Because that's how you start to basically rid yourself of self-doubt, is to get the right information and then reduce down the amount of options you get. So hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully that starts to make sure that you are freeing yourself from those issues of self-doubt. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. As I say, it's a little stories with Simon. Now, if you did, I've got a little special request for you. A special request. Now, because I've been doing podcasts now for 2.5 years by the time of recording this, we got to the stage where we've got people all over the world listening to the show. I looked at my stats yesterday or the day before, and we are number 1 in El Salvador. El Salvador, for God's sake. So number 1 for fitness in El Salvador. We're top 30 in the UK for fitness, and we're creeping our way up in the US and Canada and places like that. But it's amazing for me to see who's listening and who's viewing this and where you live in the world. So what I want to ask of you is I want to see just how far and wide this podcast is stretching. It would be awesome if in your Instagram stories or your Facebook stories or wherever you want to post, is you post something about the podcast, maybe a screenshot of an episode you're listening to. I got a picture from someone who was walking their dog while listening to the podcast, and tag me in it and put in there where you are from. Where are you listening from? What city, what country, what part of the world are you listening from? I want to have spam. I want to be spammed by you all day by telling me where you are listening to this. I think it would be awesome just to see how far this podcast has come, because I appreciate all your support wherever you are in the world. And hey, I might even, if I can, translate thank you into every different language that comes my way. So I don't know what my Swahili is like or my El Salvadorian is like, but we shall see. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. And obviously, if you do want to tag me, it's at iron_paradise_fitness. On Facebook, it's just at ironparadisefitness. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. And if you did, please do me that story thing. That'd be awesome. But for now, all I'm going to say is thanks so much for listening. Keep living the lean life, and I'll see you for the next episode of the show.